So I had a come into Jesus moment this morning. Someone said to me, when are they going to stop demonstrating and rioting and creating all of this havoc? It's such an inconvenience. Blocking traffic, breaking the windows of stores and looting. And I said to her, who are they? Who are these people? She said, oh, the black people that are protesting because of the man that was killed by police. We've seen the video. We know that the police officer is guilty. He's been arrested. Let's move on. And I said, do you think that's the reason why the protesting is happening? First of all, before we even talk about protesting, let us get one thing straight. Looters are not demonstrators. They're opportunists who have found an opportunity, unfortunately tarnishing the good cause of protesters, to take advantage of the situation. And let's not bring both issues together and conflate them, because it is incorrect. And the person continued to say, oh, well, it's just that these people. I said, first of all, who do you think these people are? Me. I am these people. Yes, my mother was a black woman. My father was a white man. I was raised in a black culture. I probably don't sound and look like what you think a black person should look like, but I am very much a black person. And of course, suddenly she becomes defensive and was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. It's just that, I'm just so tired of all of this. I said, we are all tired of this. The reason why the protesting is happening is because we want change in our world. We're tired of seeing the inequality when it comes to the criminal justice system, when it comes to policing and how police treats black people and brown people. We're tired of the injustice in the educational system, in the housing and the healthcare system, and change has to happen. And it has to happen when we all open our eyes and see that there's an inequity across the board. And until an inequity is brought front and center, so that we realize that this inequity isn't something that black people created or fabricating, or they're lazy and don't want to work, or whatever the ideas that cross your minds are. This has to change, and it has to change with a movement. It cannot be changed with silence. And we cannot continue seeing this injustice being done, especially when police officers perpetrate a wrong and are not held accountable. And until we see that there is systemically across the board this system of prevalence, nothing is gonna change, and the movement needs to continue. Whether it takes 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. But it must continue. I don't condone violence. I don't condone looting. I think they're wrong. But certainly we need to be heard. And President Obama was on CNN 2 days ago, and he said, if it means making people uncomfortable, then it is the right thing to do. Because change only happens when people are able to feel uncomfortable enough and probably take a look at themselves and how they're thinking and how they're relating to the world around them and the people with whom they know directly or indirectly. That change will begin to happen when they are able to shatter the glass bubbles in which they live, the little worlds that keep them focused on themselves and their communities and their interests, until they're able to see beyond their own wealth, their own privilege, and recognize that there is a systemic injustice being done in our society, and their wealth and their privilege is not sustainable until justice and equality across the board is available for everyone. And I'm not saying to give people your money or I'm not about taking from the wealthy to give to the poor. That's up to wealthy people to give to poor people if they so choose. I'm saying provide an equal scale, an equal balance for everyone across the board. Provide equal opportunities for housing and education and healthcare, access to healthcare and nutrition and policing and the justice system. All of these things need to be looked at very carefully from a crucible for the first time. And employment. You know, I can speak about this for 1,000 years. I owned a staffing firm on Wall Street that I created, eons ago, well, for 25 years. And one of the things that I have seen over and over again, you talk about equal opportunity employment. It's total nonsense when a company says, oh, we provide equal opportunity. So it's so blatant sometimes that you're not able to speak on it because you don't have proof of it. But when a job opportunity becomes available and a client calls you and says, oh, send 3 resumes of your top candidates. And you send 3 resumes over, and one person's name is Shaquanda Williams, right? She's got all the skill sets, the years of experience they're looking for. And then you send another resume with someone with probably half the skill sets and not as much experience, but the name is not so obvious. And the client says, oh, I want to see this person. And you're like, but what about Shaquanda? Oh, she's overqualified. I think this one would be okay. Just send her and let's see what she's like. If not, then we'll have Shaquanda come over. And 9 times out of 10, this person is hired, right? And yes, you can say, well, maybe the person was overqualified. Really? No, not the case at all. It's so clear in my mind and in the minds of my recruiters and my team members that these are situations that we had no control over. All the clients is looking, and they'll tell you, they'll call you and they'll tell you, oh, we're looking for a receptionist, somebody that will look pretty in our front desk, or somebody that has, probably has a college degree, from Cornell or from NYU, or somebody that is blah, blah, blah. And, it goes on, right? It's a very subtle way of actually weeding out those who might look or sound a little different from what they want. And let's face it, we live in a world where we are clans. We belong to clans, whether you are a black person, like I mentioned before, or you are a white person, or you're Latino from Colombia, Latino from Chile. It's this desire to want to be a part of your community. And I don't understand it because I never have been that person. I've always lived on the fringes of society, and I've always been the observer. And I suppose I understand the fact that we want to feel like we are a part of something, that it makes us feel safe, right? Safety in numbers. It makes us feel comfortable because we can relate to the food, the music, the way people think and speak. But the reality is that we have more in common than we have that is dissimilar. So when I think about humanity and when I think about who we are as people, I try to see beyond the houses we live in, the houses that carry our spirits. And I hope we can elevate ourselves to the point where we can begin to look at, as Martin Luther King says, a person's character versus the color of his or her skin. And I'd like to say the person's spirit, the energy of the person, because that's ultimately who we are. We're here for a very short period of time and then we die, right? So ultimately, who makes us who we are is not the color of our skin, but the spirit that carries us into the world. So let us try to look beyond the houses. Let's try to look for the light that is in the window of the houses, called the Spirit. Let's try to connect with people that are different from us. Let's try to learn from each other. Let's try to elevate our sensibility, understanding that we're here for a very short period of time. We're here to grow and evolve and thrive and find out how we can be better beings. So at the end of our lives, we can look back and say, you know, we made mistakes. We were whatever, prejudiced. We were unkind. We did blah, 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 because we're not perfect people, but hopefully we can be smart enough to tweak the nuances of who we are as individuals and become more evolved beings, more loving, more kind, more thoughtful, more present, more self-aware, more patient, more understanding. So that when the journey is over one day, we can know that we were a light in a world where there were corners of darkness. All right, so I'm at home and my garden is here doing the lawns, so I have to end this for now, but I hope you appreciated my perspective, my story this morning. And I hope you share your story, because I think in sharing our stories, we're able to come to the conversation or to the table with a meaningful conversation. All right? I wish you peace and love and blessings. Namaste.